This is the GoPro Hero 12, and now that GoPro released the Hero 13, is the upgrade worth it, or should you just stick with the Hero 12? Let's go test it and find out. Obviously, I'm not in Alaska where I normally am. I'm down in Arizona working, but I thought it'd be a great place to test the Hero 12 against the Hero 13 and see exactly what the differences are, because there are a few, not as many as you think. Image quality is one of the places where they are very similar, but we'll dive into that in just a bit. And yeah, you will probably actually get an overheating test. It's about 95 right now. I'm dying, but let's move on and see what we can do. So first off, talking about image quality, I'm filming both of these in 5.3K, 30 frames a second, in linear right now. So they basically, because they have the same camera sensor, the same processor, they basically have the same exact image quality. So if you're looking for a big image quality improvement, there really isn't one there. Now, just because their image quality is the same doesn't mean they're identical, because GoPro did make a few changes with the Hero 13 that are not available in the Hero 12. Most of those have to do with slow motion modes. Up to this point, like, I've had all settings the same. All the footage you've seen has been all the same, and to me there's almost no difference between the two. It did a little bit here and there. The GoPro 13 seems to expose slightly different than the GoPro 12 if you have it on auto settings, but if you have the settings set to the same, they look exactly the same. But the big difference is in slow motion modes. And fortunately, I found a place to show you what I'm talking about. Right there. So while they will both film 4K 120, 2.7K up to 240 frames a second slow motion, the Hero 13, they improved the slow motion modes to be able to include 5.3K 120, and then you can also go up to 900p, 360 frames a second, and you can go up to 720p, up to 400 frames a second. Now, those are very limited in dynamic range. You can only do the narrow view because it has to crop in on the sensor. And the 5.3K, you only get 5 seconds to make it work. And the other ones, you get up to 15 seconds. So if you shoot a lot of slow motion, that might be an advantage for you. To me, the dynamic range is so limited that it's not really worth it to me. But, you know, again, your use case might be different and it might be very useful for you. For me, 2.7K 240 and 4K 120 have been plenty on almost everything I shoot. Another thing GoPro said they did was give us a flatter log profile. That's what you're seeing right now. I don't really see a difference. Not much at all. I don't. They color grade about the same. They're about the same flatness when you look at them without a color grade on them. So, yeah. And then we come to low light. And in low light, you actually need to shoot in 60 because it gives the camera more information so that it can process the stabilization and you get better stabilization. But low light remains much the same. It really hasn't changed at all. That being said, I feel like there is slightly better stabilization on the Hero 13 than there is on the 12 in low light.
So low light performance has never been the strength of GoPros, but this is 200 ISO. This is 400 ISO. This is 800 ISO. This is 1600 ISO. This is 3200 ISO. And you do have control over the noise reduction on the Hero 13. And right now that's set to medium. I'm gonna switch that to high real quick. So this is 3200 ISO with the noise reduction on the Hero 13 set to high. And this is 6400 ISO.
The difference now on the Hero 13 is that you can set the noise reduction level to different levels than you could on the Hero 12. So instead of just on or off, you now have a medium and a high setting, which gives you a little more control over what the noise looks like. That being said, if you're filming in ridiculously low light and you're using high noise reduction, you're gonna lose quite a bit of detail. So when it comes to footage, there's very little difference between these two cameras. other than what you've seen so far, which is mostly slow motion. All the footage that I've seen side by side so far, you might think differently by this point in the video, but because I haven't seen it yet, but all the footage that I've seen from messing with these two cameras over the last couple of weeks, it's basically the same. I don't see a huge difference unless you specifically need those slow motion modes. And then when it comes to photos, they both shoot the same sort of photos, 27 megapixels. They can do raw, they can do super, you know, photo, all these different modes that give you, you know, different ways to capture photos. And I really don't consider any sort of action camera really a photo camera, but if you want to snap photos with one of these, you can. And they're nice, they look decent. I'm putting up various photos that I've taken from either one and noting which ones I've taken them with, because again, like the footage, I just don't see any difference between the photo modes. They are very, very similar. I think I have like a half mile to get back to my car, and hopefully I do it soon so that, you know, I don't have to phone for help or something ridiculous like that. And then we need to talk about audio. This is the GoPro Hero 12 audio with some good wind coming from that direction over there, kind of straight directly to the side of the camera. And then this is the Hero 13, same thing, pretty good wind blowing from straight over there, directly sideways to the camera right now. I'm very curious to see which one of these overheats first. So here's an example of the auto wind noise reduction on both of these cameras with a very strong wind coming from directly behind. But the Hero 13 has a little different setting where you can put voice focused or voice enhanced. I'm gonna switch to that right now. So now this is the Hero 13 with the voice tuning on its settings, audio settings set up. So I'm kind of curious to see how much of a difference that makes over the regular, just normal GoPro stuff. I think there's a little cave over there, but I don't really want to go too close to it because I got a feeling there's snakes and stuff sitting in there. Now right now you're listening to the audio out of the GoPro Hero 12 with a fair amount of wind coming from that direction. You can probably tell. But the nice thing is that both of these will pair with Bluetooth devices. Now I've got the DJI Mic 2, it's paired to the Hero 13. And you can also pair to like AirPods or Bluetooth headphones, stuff like that. My issue has always been that the audio quality doesn't sound quite as good. So now you're listening to the 13 with the DJI Mic 2 on. And to me, I would rather just go with the natural sound. The GoPros do a pretty good job of getting rid of wind noise if they need to. This is what it would sound like with a fair amount of wind, but the option to pair with a Bluetooth audio device is there if you find that you need it. Wow, that is a pretty strong wind. So this actually might be a good test of the DJI Mic 2 compared to the GoPro Hero 12 with no audio. It's pretty windy. Also, it's really hot. Have I mentioned that before? That it's really, really hot? It's really hot. Both of these cameras have essentially exactly the same stabilization. So here's an example of no stabilization at all. Just me holding the cameras. And now this is with stabilization on. Like I said, I really don't see a difference. They both stabilize incredibly well. And they both have things like linear plus, which is horizon steady, which basically means you can tip the cameras 360 degrees. It doesn't matter. It's going to give you a perfectly level horizon all the time. And this is great if you happen to be running, because you don't want to have to think about how steady or how level are you holding the cameras. So right now, this is giving me some great footage while I'm running around the desert, which I probably shouldn't be doing because I'm like, you know, needing some water. It's really, really hot, but gives you a great example of how good the stabilization is on both of these cameras. Hey, if you're enjoying or getting value out of this video, then consider subscribing. I go out and test and compare the filmmaking equipment, photo equipment in the most real world conditions I can find here in Alaska and give you tips and tutorials on how to use them. Subscribing doesn't cost you anything, and you know, you can always unsubscribe later. Oh, thank God, I'm back to the car. I will say, I've been out here running around for about an hour and a half. I did not shut either camera off completely and let them sit off or cool down in any way. Both of them have been going fine. Battery life seems about the same so far. I'll try and do a battery life test because the GoPro Hero 13 is supposed to have better runtime, but I am impressed that both of these cameras have lasted, because it's like 96 degrees in the full sun and they are really hot to touch right now. So, but yeah, so far neither one of them have overheated, so impressive. Better than they used to be. One of the things that I'm glad they added back into the Hero 13 that they took away in the Hero 12, maybe 11 and 10, I don't really remember, is GPS. This is nice if you do certain things, or you want to put overlays on, or you want to track things, pin places on the map. GPS can be really useful. So not a huge deal for most people, but for a few of us, it actually is kind of a nice deal. While the Hero 13 does bring some nice improvements to what you can do with it video-wise, and just kind of some of the options you can do with the different video settings, there are a few things that GoPro did that really kind of not great. One is they changed the battery. Now they say they need to do that to get more voltage to the system for the burst rate slow motion modes, which probably is true, but they're exactly the same size, and I don't see why you had to put a whole new battery system in here just because. It does improve the runtime a little bit, not a lot, like 10% maybe, but yeah, to me that's just a way to sell more accessories. Now, while the Max lens mod will work with both of these, the newer lenses are the ones that the 13 will auto detect and make certain adjustments for. So I don't know if that's worth it or not. To me, it's not. Honestly, I feel like we're getting to a place with action cameras and drones and just about everything where an upgrade every year is not huge, and it's better to wait every other year or every third year. I only upgrade my phone about every third year now because it's just not enough of a difference between the couple of years to make it worth upgrading to. Now, while the GoPro Hero 13 is a little slower to respond right now, a lot of times that improves with firmware updates in pretty quick order, so I'm not going to nitpick on that. And one more thing that they did that I'm glad is that when you have it in an off state, you use quick capture to turn the GoPro on and do video like I'm doing right now. When you stop it, you now have an option to push the mode button and actually keep the GoPro from going back to a powered off state. That was one of my big nitpicks with GoPro in the past, is that you had to let it power completely off and then power the camera back on if you wanted to change any settings. Whereas now you can just push the mode button before it powers off and it will stay on, and then you can adjust the settings. So good job, GoPro. But next you're gonna wanna watch this video right here. I'll see you over there. As always, if you have questions, ask me in the comments below, or join my live stream, which happens most Wednesday nights at 4 p.m. Alaska time, 8 p.m. Eastern, at least if I'm not out doing something like this. We can have more of a conversation there. I can answer questions that maybe I didn't get to in this video. I'll see you again soon in the next one. Cheers.